Assalamu alaikum brothers, welcome to another Saturday Dars at 9 p.m. We would like to thank all of you from tuning in from here and from Turkey or wherever you're tuning in from in the world. Today we'll be reading from the 12th letter and we'll be going over some very interesting questions and the way Ustad's going to explain how these questions apply to us in the current day. Also here he teaches us some very important lessons on how to have conversations with each other about Islamic matters and whether to quarrel about them or not to quarrel about them. So I'll just give a quick overview about what we're going to read today. We'll be reading about the wisdom of Adam alayhi salam being expelled from heaven, the reason of this for mankind, and why devils are created. And also we'll be reading about why Almighty Allah sends calamities and inflicts tribulations on us. So today will be quite an interesting read, so inshallah we can all benefit all together. In His name be He glorified. There is nothing but it glorifies with Him with praise. Peace be upon you and upon your companions. My dear brothers, you asked me a question that night, and I did not reply. Because it is not permissible to argue over questions of belief. It is not permissible to argue over questions of belief. Your discussion of them had turned into a dispute, a quarrel, a fight, an argument. For now, I am writing very brief replies to 3 questions about which you were arguing, which is the 3 questions which are going to come down below. Also here, Ustad is showing us that Islamic matters should not be turning into a dispute, and if it does turn into a dispute, it should not continue. You will find the details in the words, the chemist wrote down which. The chemist was the person who observed this quarrel. But it did not occur to me to mention the 26th word about the divine determining and man's faculty of will and the rest of the words. So here he's explaining where those answers are going to be answered in depth, but here he's going to provide quick answers to the 3 questions which the chemist had written down. The first question: what wisdom does it spring from? What is the wisdom of Adam alayhi salam, the first prophet, being expelled from Jannah, and some of mankind, the sons of Adam alayhi salam, people like us, being sent to hell? What was the reason for it? I'll read the question again. What wisdom is behind Adam alayhi salam being expelled from paradise, Jannah, and some of mankind, the children of Adam alayhi salam, such as us, being sent to hell? So why did Adam alayhi salam get expelled from heaven, and why are his children, the mankind, going to hell? What is the reason for this? The answer: the reason for it concerns the charging of duties. The reason for it concerns the giving of duties. The duty with which Adam alayhi salam was charged yielded such results as the unfolding of all human spiritual progress and the revealing of all human potentialities, and man's essential nature being a comprehensive mirror, a reflection to all the divine names. So here Ustad explains simply what Adam alayhi salam went through in order for these charges to be given to him. Here it says the reason for the discharging from heaven has given such results like unfolding of all human spiritual progress, our ability to attain Jannah, and the revealing of all human potentialities. So Adam alayhi salam came down to this earth and all of human potentialities were able to progress through the mankind's developments. And man's essential nature, and man's true nature, being a comprehensive mirror to all the divine names, was shown. Our ability to reflect Allah's names and understand Allah more was understood through Adam alayhi salam being expelled from Jannah. If Adam alayhi salam had remained in paradise, his rank, his spiritual rank, would have been fixed like that of the angels. It would have not gone up, not gone half down, because there was no challenges in paradise. Man's potential, man's living potential, like this world, the way we live on this world, our potentialities, would not have been disclosed. If we were to be living in paradise, we wouldn't be having the challenges that we have every day in our lives. Therefore, our potentialities, our ability to grow, would not have come out. In any case, the angels, with their unchanging ranks, with their fixed ranks, are numerous. There is many angels with fixed ranks. And there is no need for man or mankind to perform their sort of worship. Since divine wisdom, qadar, required a realm of accountability commensurate with the potentialities of man, who would transverse infinite degrees, he was expelled from paradise for his well-known sin. Since divine wisdom, Allah's wisdom, required a realm of accountability, a realm where accountability was seen, with potentialities of man, who would traverse infinite degrees, who would go up and down, he was expelled from paradise for his well-known sin. Adam alayhi salam was expelled from heaven for his well-known sin. The sin being that he bit the apple from the forbidden tree. And also here it shows the innate requirements of human nature. Sin. Sin being the requirements of human nature, our ability to make mistakes, except for prophets, and contrary to that of the angels. It shows here that we are different from the angels because we are able to make mistakes. Although we must make istighfar for these mistakes, it shows here that we have the ability to make a mistake, and that is a requirement of human nature. A perfect human being can only be a prophet. For other humans, it is impossible for us to be perfect. For sin is the requirement of human nature and is contrary to that of the angels. That is to say, just as it is pure wisdom and pure mercy that Adam alayhi salam should be expelled from paradise, from Jannah, Adam alayhi salam being expelled from Jannah was a blessing to mankind, so is it just and right that the unbelievers, the atheists, people who do not believe in Allah, should be sent to hell. This is coming to the second part of the question, where here he asked, what wisdom does it spring from Adam alayhi salam being expelled from paradise, which he just explained. And now it's explaining here why some of mankind, the sons of Adam alayhi salam, being sent to hell. Now we are explaining why the children of Adam being sent to hell and the reasons for it. As is mentioned in the third indication in the 10th word, which is about the akhirah, the unbeliever here refers to people who disbelieve in Allah completely, who are atheists. The unbeliever only committed one sin in his short life, which is disbelief. So the unbeliever commits one sin, which is not to believe in Allah. So he takes away Allah. But the sin comprised infinite wrongdoing. But that one sin of disbelieving in Allah comprised infinite wrongdoings. For unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. For unbelief is an insult to the whole universe. It negates the value of all beings. It negates all value of all beings. It denies the testimony to divine unity of all creatures, and is contempt towards the divine names, the manifestations of which are to be seen the mirrors of beings. So when we disbelieve or when we perform unbelief, we negate the value of all beings. We deny the testimony of all beings being created by one Lord. And we disregard all the divine names. The manifestations which those names have in our lives, we negate all of those. Therefore, in order to avenge the rights of beings on the unbelievers, in order to avenge the rights of the beings on the unbelievers, their monarch, Allah Azza wa Jal, the all-compelling one of glory, casts the unbelievers into hell. And this is pure right and justice. So Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't do it because they unbelieve, they disbelieve in Him. He does it in order to avenge the rights of beings, the haqq of the beings on the unbeliever. And He casts the unbelievers into hell. This is pure right and justice. For an infinite crime demands infinite punishment. And now we're moving on to the second question. Why are devils created? Almighty Allah created the shaitan and evil. What is the wisdom in the creation of shaitan and evil? What is the wisdom in this? Isn't the creation of evil evil and the creation of bad bad? This is actually a very amazing question set forth, and here Ustad gives another amazing explanation on how difference in creation of shaitan and the wisdom behind it. The answer: God forbid. The creation of evil is not evil. The acquisition, the process of doing evil or desire for evil is evil. I'll read this part again. The creation of evil is not evil. The acquisition, the desire, the process of doing evil is evil. For creation and bringing into existence, look to all the consequences. Whereas such a desire looks to a particular result, since it is a particular relation. This will be explained now. For example, there are thousands of consequences of rain falling, and all of them are good. If due to misuse of their wills, if due to a misuse of their wills, some people receive harm from the rain, they cannot say that the creation of rain is not mercy or that it is evil. For instance, if there is rain falling and we leave our car windows open and our car becomes drenched, it's not the fault of the rain is not evil, whereas it's our own mistake of leaving the windows down. So therefore, the person who left the window cannot say that the creation of rain is not a mercy or that it is evil. For it is evil for them due to their mischoice and inclinations. This can be also observed with a knife. We can use a knife in our households. We use knives in our households every single day. We use it to cook our food. We use it to cut our clothing. We can use it for anything. We can use it to even, put a screw in the window. But if we use that knife to go and kill someone, can we say that the creation of a knife or the making of a knife is not beneficial to humanity? Here it shows that due to the misuse of our will, people can turn a blessing into harm, into evil. For it is evil for them due to their mischoice and inclinations. So the main line of evil here is, it is evil for us because due to of our mischoice and our inclinations. That's the fine line here. Mischoice and inclinations. Also, there are numerous benefits in the creation of fire, and all of them are good. But if some people are harmed by the creation of fire due to their own personal misuse and their wrong choices, they cannot say the creation of fire is evil. Because it was not only created to burn them. Here in this example, we can understand this by saying the creation of fire, just like the knife, helps us cook our food, helps us get warm when it's cold. But if the person puts his hand out and touches the fire and burns himself, here we cannot say the fire is evil. Because it was not only created for that fire to burn that person's hand. Rather, they made the wrong choice and thrust their hand into the fire whilst cooking, and made that fire, who was a servant to them, cooking their food for them, an inimical enemy to themselves. In short, a lesser evil is acceptable for a greater good. If an evil which will lead to a greater good is abandoned, so that a lesser evil should not occur, a greater evil will have been perpetrated. For example, there are certainly some minor material and physical harms and evils in sending soldiers to fight a war, a jihad. But the jihad, the war, leads to a greater good, whereby Islam is saved from being conquered by infidels. If the jihad, if the war is abandoned due to those lesser evils, such as not losing our soldiers and not entering a war where different things will occur, where it's not always going to be so nice, the greater evil will come after the greater good has gone. And this is absolute wrong. Therefore, if we do not send soldiers to our wars, such as if Turkey today had a war and we did not send soldiers to the front lines in order to save their lives, Turkey would be conquered. Therefore, a greater evil would have happened if we didn't have to send our soldiers, who would have been the lesser evil, but therefore it would have portrayed to us a greater good. Another example is to amputate a finger which is infected with gangrene. And this finger has to be amputated. The amputation is good and right, although it is apparently evil. For if it is not amputated, the hand will be amputated, and that would be a greater evil. This is actually a very simple way of understanding what Ustad has said just here. A lesser evil is acceptable for greater good. If an evil which will lead to a greater good is abandoned, so that a lesser evil should not occur, a greater evil will have been perpetrated. So here, if we had our finger infected with gangrene, and we did not cut off our finger, our whole hand would be cut off. If our hand was cut off infected with gangrene, and we did not chop off our hand, then our arm would be cut off. But here it's explaining that sometimes, even though something small may look very bad, it is required to cut it in order to stop the rest of the faculties being infected as well. So sometimes it's an evil to cut our finger off, but it's a greater good for us to save our hand, for us to save our arm, for us to save our whole body. Thus, now it's coming to tie in with the shaitan. Thus, the creation and bringing into existence of evils, harms, tribulations, shaitan, and harmful things is not bad and evil. The creation of shaitan and evil things is not evil and bad, for they are created for many important results they yield. For example, shaitan has not been set to pester the angels. The shaitan does not go and pester the angels. And the angels cannot progress in Iman. Their degrees are fixed and deficient. However, in the world of humanity, the degrees of progress and decline are infinite. However, in the world of humanity, in our world, the degrees of our Iman, for it to progress and decline, are infinite. There is an extremely long distance through which to progress from the Nimrud, from the Pharaoh, as far as the veracious saints to the prophets. There is many levels between the Pharaohs and the Nimrods, which are right down the bottom of hell, of the Iman, the levels of Iman, the degrees of Iman, all the way to the prophets and to all the veracious saints and the Sahabas. There is many levels in between. And the shaitan was sent in order to give us the ability to increase our Iman and to decrease our Iman. So here it gives us the ability to increase or decrease. So the shaitan is more so a key for us to go forwards or a key for us to go backwards. So it gives us a challenge. Thus, because of the creation of shaitan and the mystery of man's accountability and the sending of prophets, an arena of trial and examination and striving and competition has been opened through sending of the shaitan, through Allah creating the shaitan and sending him. And the mystery of man's accountability, and through the sending of the prophets, through sending the shaitan and through sending the prophets, an arena of trial and examination, striving and competition has been opened, so that the coal-like base spirits, the worthless spirits, may be differentiated and separated out from diamond-like elevated spirits. Allah has created the angels, the shaitan, the prophets, and Allah has sent the shaitan into this world and has created humanity, has sent us into this world, has created the prophets and sent them into this world and created an arena of trial and examination. He has created an arena of striving and competition, so that coal-like, worthless base spirits may be differentiated and separated out from diamond-like elevated spirits. Allah has created this arena of examination so our spirits can be differentiated from one another, to see who is coal-like worthless base spirits and to see who is diamond-like spirits. If there had been no striving and competition, the potential in the mind of humanity resembling diamonds and coal, would have remained equal. If there had been no striving and competition, the potentiality of human spirit, our ability to increase and decrease in Iman and our worship towards Allah, the coal and the diamond would have remained equal. The spirit of Abu Bakr, the veracious, as the highest of the high, would have remained on par and similar with Abu Jahl at the lowest of the low. If there was no competition, if there was no arena of trial, if there was no examination, no creation of shaitan to challenge us, the spirit of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh would have remained on par and the same with Abu Jahl. So the highest of the high would have remained on par with Abu Jahl at the lowest of the low. This means that since the creation of shaitan and evil looks to vast, universal results, it is not evil or bad. The evils and instances of bad that arise from abuse and the particular causes known as man's acquisition, man's desire to pertain to his voluntary actions, not to divine creation. So Allah creating evil and Allah creating shaitan is not the cause of evil. The cause of evil is man's acquisition, man's desire, man's wants pertaining to his voluntary actions, for him controlling his own actions in order to do evil and in order to do bad. If you ask, the majority of humanity become unbelievers due to the existence of shaitan. They embrace unbelief and suffer harm despite the sending of prophets. The majority of humanity become unbelievers, atheists, due to the existence of shaitan. They embrace unbelief due to his whispers, and they suffer harm despite Allah sending prophets. If, according to the rule, the majority has the say, which is currently to be seen in our current society, majority rules as they say, the majority of humanity suffers evil as a result, and the creation of evil is evil. And it may even be said that the sending of prophets is not a mercy. This is actually a very devilish question, whereby the person is saying if prophets were not sent and everyone was just evil and there was no Islam, no one would be sent to hell or no one would be sent to heaven, but there would be no people sending to hell. And they are saying here, people being sent to hell is not a mercy, therefore the sending of prophets to humanity and giving us this trial and examination is not a mercy. Isn't that so? And here Ustad also gives another beautiful answer answering this person. The answer: quantity has no importance in relation to quality. Quantity has no importance in relation to quality. The true majority looks to quality. The main importance here is based on quality. For example, if a date palm has 100 seeds and they are not planted into the earth and not watered, and they do not undergo a chemical reaction and manifest the struggle of life, so they don't try to grow because they are not planted, they remain 100 seeds of worth virtually nothing.
It's like if we had a car sitting in a garage that was not being used at all, that car is worthless because we are not driving it. But if they are watered and are subject to the struggle for life, then 80 of the 100 rot due to their faulty makeup, but the 20 become fruit-bearing trees. Can you say that watering them was evil because most of them rotted? Of course you cannot say that, for the 20 have become 20,000. A person who loses 80 and gains 20,000 suffers no loss, so it cannot be evil. Another example, a peahen lays 100 eggs and they are worth $500. If the hen sits on the 100 eggs and 80 go bad and 20 hatch into peacocks, can it be said that the loss was high and the affair evil? That it was bad to put the broody hen on the eggs and then evil occurred? No, it was not thus, it was good. For the peacock species and egg family lost 80 eggs worth $400, but gained 20 peacocks worth $8,000. Thus, through the sending of prophets and the mystery of man's accountability, and through striving and fighting with shaitan, and in return for the hundreds of thousands of prophets and millions of saints, and thousands of millions of purified scholars, alims, they have gained, who are like the suns, moons, the stars of the world of humanity. Mankind has lost the unbelievers and dissemblers, who are numerous in regard to quantity, but are insignificant in regard to quality, and are like pernicious beasts. I'll read this last paragraph as it is also our last paragraph. It is very important to understand what we are trying to understand here. It is showing here that to Allah Azza wa Jal, it does not matter. Here Allah Azza wa Jal is trying to find ones of us which are like the diamonds of humanity. For Allah, there is many coal. We can buy coal from Coles. We can buy coal from anywhere, any shop, supermarket. But diamonds can only be bought from certain specific places like jewelry stores. Here Allah Azza wa Jal is doing the same for humanity. For Allah, it does not matter if there is 2 billion non-believers out there. Even if there is one Muslim believer, that is all that matters to Allah. Thus, through sending the prophets and the mystery of man's accountability, through the humanity striving and fighting with shaitan, in return for the hundreds of thousands of prophets and millions of saints and thousands of millions of purified scholars, thousands of beautiful believers in Allah, they have gained, who are like the suns, the moons, the stars of the world of humanity, the true essence, the true reason of the people of humanity. Mankind has lost the unbelievers. Through this realm of arena of trial, we have lost the unbelievers and dissemblers, but they are worth nothing. They might be numerous in regard to quantity, but they are insignificant in regards to quality, and like pernicious beasts. Thank you, brothers, for listening to me, and inshallah we all benefited all together, where Ustad has explained the 2 beautiful questions. We couldn't read the 3rd question because it was going to be a bit too long. Inshallah, tune in next week again, and inshallah I pray that your Ramadan is going well and that everyone is safe and secure during this world pandemic. Al-Fatiha.